I want to begin this live stream by quoting Cassia St. Clair, author of The Secret Lives of Colour. Colours are cultural creations and they're shifting all the time, sort of like tectonic plates. Colour is not a precise thing, it's changing, it's living, it's constantly being redefined and argued over and over, and that's part of the magic of it. The last year has seen me explore colour as an abstract, a project that was born from an innate curiosity and urge for experimental making within the worlds of colour and materials has resulted in a series of studies in which colour becomes materialised, whether it's in the literal sense of clothing or within a mixed, unusable blob of Play-Doh. Here, I welcome you into the colourful world that I've been living in for the past year. I'll begin by talking through the 2 study books I created in response to an alternative colour study, united by their use of the same material Play-Doh. Part 1, the making of khaki, and Part 2, a new matter, and the livestream will finish with me creating my final shade of khaki. The initial experiments over colour change led me to using the material Play-Doh, opening up an exploration into colour mashups through a systematic method of mixing. Coupling a neon orange with a deep turquoise, after a few minutes of mixing in my hands, the colours are squidged into a whole new shade that doesn't resemble the originals. Yet this bold mixology is unpredictable and requires confidence to embrace a result that creates a spectrum of greyed-off colours, unusable for the material's original play purpose. As I soon discovered the eventual state of mixed Play-Doh sat within the realm of khaki, a study into this colour began, for I was intrigued by its subjectivity. The most important aspect of this study is being shown on the screen now, where I asked others to create their version of khaki through 14 given Play-Doh colours. So I will now talk through the book. This is an alternative colour study, part 1, the making of khaki. So this book includes all of my studies into the colour khaki. That's the contents page, which kind of runs through everything. Why Play-Doh? It was the material that I could control my colour change over the most after witnessing the stuff around me changing colour. Why khaki? I realised it was the eventual default state of mixed Play-Doh. Play-Doh actually released an all mixed up pot in May 2021, which was very linked to this project. Colour as origin, where the word came from, the etymology of the word I learnt from Tara's dad. It's Persian. This is a bit of history. It began in Persia as dust, came into the British Army through the language Urdu, different shades of khaki, tan, khaki green, dark khaki, according to the internet. Colour experiments. So here I began to methodically mix the colour khaki, purposefully trying to create this colour. I sped this bit up a bit, but aiming for a khaki green with different colour combinations, basically. I called this is my first iteration, 100 Shades of Khaki. I then was interested in the subjectivity. I asked my flatmates to create their version of khaki. This was one of the first things, so I didn't really go into depth about the mixing, but I just mapped it. This is their khakis. They did differ, and that kind of intrigued me. And I reached out via Instagram for people to create their version of khaki. So this is how I sent it. I weighed out the samples, 14 colours, all in these envelopes, ready to send to people for them to send me a video of them mixing back and a picture so I could map out their khaki and have their colour sample. That was the instructions I gave. I didn't give any colours away. I wanted people to go with their intuition. A lot of people have a link to khaki that they would make it from, like whether it's an old jacket or my dad said his curtains. I sped this bit up. This is everyone that did it. There was 35 samples. I mapped everyone's. Afterwards, there they are, all the little blobs of green. A lot of different shades. I don't know if you can tell. Tan, green. And then I went back and analysed what was the most common first pick, second, third, most common last pick, second, third. So what people tend to reach for first and last, basically. Most common colour choice, least common colour choice. The average amount of mixes, 10. Least amount of mixes, 3. Most amount of mixes, 31. That was a tough one to map. Mixing hands. I really enjoyed these shots of people mixing and seeing my little coloured balls in people's houses. Extracts of transcripts taken from the videos of interesting conversations I found, and these conversations that kind of were the backbone of this project. Everyone's khakis mapped out in a grid, their relation to me, their job, their age, their gender. Oh, not the gender. Has a gender in. Designers, comparing them. Design students, comparing them. 22-year-olds and plus 38-year-olds, girls or boys, and girls. So trying to create this comparison in between the colours. Not that you could find anything here I said that was due to the subjectivity. There actually isn't really any trend and correlation between those comparisons. Everything's different, basically. And that is the book. There we go. So the use of Play-Doh continues into part 2, A New Matter. However, my aim became focused on recontextualising the material into a specimen that could be used as an alternative form of study. The continuous mixing now no longer used my hands, it used this notebook where I squished the colours together, which allowed for uncontrollable colourways spreading into one another until an unusable blob formed. As the colour mixes were pushed, the results would replicate something living, a surface that was not flat yet also now more organic in colour. To give purpose to the reimagined material as if the study was something that existed, language around photographic techniques alluded to a form of study, focusing on the way we talk about observing rather than what is going on with the specifics of a scientific context. The ambiguity of these colour studies and the Play-Doh being something more than we understand it to be demonstrates the fact that colour is not a precise thing. As Cassia St. Clair states, it's changing, it's living, and it's being redefined over and over again. The results of my experiments is this collection of images placed in the second book. Central to this is the classification of Play-Doh in a subjective order, achieved by specific labelling and categorising of the elusive material. The reimagined work constitutes as if it were a fingerprint of a natural process. The colours spread beyond my means within the notebooks, and depending on the way they are squashed, patterns are formed from the components of the material. So this is now the second book, An Alternative Colour Study, A New Matter. There's the contents again. I've kind of subheaded them into the categories of study that I think the images fall under. There's a bit about the project. These are colour codes towards the samples I made. Some of them are so different to the original Play-Doh pots that it became quite interesting. These are in sequence, so when the notebooks are squashed together, this is the 2 pages, which I think, this isn't in the book, but I think this kind of reflects the Rorschach test, the schizophrenic test, where ink is used to decipher what's seen in an image. So these are kind of just the original colour mixes. They don't really come under a study. I just scaled them. So this is light and surface, I called this one. I used white Play-Doh, which kind of to make it look like a shadow, I guess, on black. White Play-Doh again on black, and some close-up of surfaces. I think this kind of looks like Petri dishes, or I don't know, the surface of something gross, basically. Kind of mouldy, kind of unknown. Telescopic studies, as kind of self-explanatory, I think they look like planets. I used actual imaging techniques. That was wide field planetary camera, which is what they use in space. Some close-ups, this could be the surface of a planet, who knows, maybe. I quite like these close-up images. I think they look quite interesting. I like paintings. Oh, okay, this is me looking through NASA. This also obviously isn't in the book, but looking at their photographic techniques to see how they actually photograph planets. So this is me using my microscope with Play-Doh. This is NASA using their very large telescope, which kind of looks the same, I think. So this is the surface of Play-Doh through a microscope, so it looks kind of shiny and crystally, but it is in fact Play-Doh, obviously. Geological studies, so this is where I think they become more rock-like, or like a form. So this is assorted erosion surfaces, a rock cabinet of some of the car keys that were made previous to this. Landsat imagery, land and sea, so images taken from space, really far away, basically. Surface melts. This is what was left on the pages when I scraped the Play-Doh away from the notebooks. I think it looks like some sort of icy, watery, green stuff. This is a book that was really kind of important throughout this project. The Living Surface, Liz Ann Friedson photographs basically mould and throughout time. Glacial melts, I called these ones, black and white. I actually do see glaciers when these are zoomed in. I've kind of lost the ability to see Play-Doh anymore. It's kind of skewed my mind. Medical imaging studies, so these are ones that I thought looked more biological. I can never say that word, microscopy of biological tissues and the stainings that would go with them. This was a really interesting website, Histology, which is the study of cells, and the way they photograph the cells is just so nice, so I thought I'd include it like this. They look so pretty, but obviously when you realise what they are, it's kind of gross. Nice pink, nice tendon, connective tissues. Yep, and these are sonography papers, so changing the colour using the sun with samples of Play-Doh, which I think look quite like a computed tomography scan or a CT scan. And I really like that full image of it. I think it also kind of looks like an island in the sea, but I thought of that after I'd classed it as a CT scan, so it could be either. And that's just me saying that they're not real studies and they should be used as a way to reimagine the material Play-Doh. And yeah, that is that book done. Hey guys, so now that I've gone through all my 2 books, I'm gonna end on making my final khaki, which I haven't done since November 2020, when I was purposefully making the colour in kind of a methodical manner, adding a little bit of each colour that I thought would kind of eventually get to a colour that fell on the spectrum of khaki. I haven't done it after analysing everyone's videos and seeing which colours worked well, which didn't, which were the most picked, which were the least picked colours. So I think it would be quite nice to create a colour that I believe is khaki after all that influence. So, yeah. Also, I wanted to add that now, because I have watched all these videos of people mixing and kind of became aware that there is multiple shades of khaki that fall into the shade's name, I think my perception may have changed a little bit, but maybe that's also quite an interesting aspect because I've had so much more influence and I've learned the history. I know that it is a colour that's meant to blend into the land, and there's khaki green, tan khaki, there's just a lot. So yeah, I'm going to start with what I think my final khaki will be. Okay, so the obvious thing, or the colours that I think reach khaki the quickest are quite obvious, and they go from like this brown, this beige, this yellow, and this green, and it pretty quickly turns into a khaki. But I think some of the most interesting mixing videos were ones that started with, say, like a pink or like a purple and went from there. So I think I want to start with, I think this dark purple. I'm going to take a tiny bit. Maybe I want to make it quite interesting, so I'm going to go for this blue and just see what these 2 colours make. I don't think it will be a khaki straight away, obviously, but and to be fair, if I was to mix every single piece of these colours, it still would make a khaki. So if worse comes to worse, I can just do that. I'm going to add a little bit of this yellowy orange. I'm actually quite nervous to do this because I think I'm not going to be able to reach a khaki, even though I've watched everyone's. Okay, it's kind of a dull grey ish with a yellowy tinge. I do straight away, if I was to think of khaki maybe at the start of the project, I would have gone khaki green, which I now think after listening to conversations and learning more about the colour, I think it has more of a tan aspect to it, or maybe just a yellowy tinge, where I previously would have just gone basically like this with a tiny hint of this. See, even that could probably be khaki, but I don't think it is. I'm going to add a bit of the beige. I don't want to reach for these colours, but also I'm not that brave for the colour so far. Going to add a bit of the dark green into this. Okay, this is quite green now actually. I think I'm going to add some of this brown and some of this lilac. So I've mixed these and it's kind of reached this dull sagey green, I'd say, maybe. Definitely a shade of khaki, but it's not the colour I want to reach. I want to go more tan and just a green with a tinge of tan. So I'm going to add these 2 into it. This one's quite luminous actually, but let's see what happens. Still not the colour. I'm going to add some more purple to, don't know, I just feel like I watched a lot of people do that in my videos and it kind of tones it, I guess. Purple and a little bit of this. This is getting a bit more close to it. I'm not sure what to add. This colour is interesting to me. I think that colour could have been a bit of a mistake. It's kind of taken the brownness out of it. It's kind of toned it, cooled it quite a lot. It's lost its warmth. To fix that, I'm going to add some brown. A lot of the brown. And this orange, the rest of this orange, so quite a lot. And hope for the best. Gonna add the rest of this brown in. And a little bit of this green. It's getting there, I think. It looks more green on the camera. It's quite, definitely got a yellow tinge to it. And it's not the khaki that I would have gone for at the start of this project. I've definitely been influenced, mainly by what other people say that they think a khaki is out of the collection that I have. I actually think that could be my khaki. I think if I add anything else, I will regret it. Smooth all the colour out. It could, I think people would argue that it should be more yellow or tan, but also this is the influence that I've had has made me create this colour, so I guess that's fair, maybe, I don't know. That is my khaki. And there. Definitely could have been a bit more yellow, but I think the yellow I have, which is this one, I think it's too neon. I needed the kind of middle between these two to balance it, but that is my khaki. There we go. Thank you for watching, everyone.